9:30, and we are back again live with Radical Resilience for relationships, family, and our own sense of personal well-being. I'm going to wait a couple minutes to see if anyone can join us live today. I want to open it up to questions after I share with you what I am here to share with you today, and just offer a little bit of kind of real-time coaching as needed, right? If needed. So I was asking myself last night what I really wanted to talk about today, and I was actually asking my honey about it too, and we talked a little bit about what would be really a good topic for today. And we, know that Wednesdays are about relationships, and we got into talking about really the importance of nurturing all relationships, right? So, not necessarily just making sure that your love relationships are intact and how you can apply the tools of radical resilience to the relationships you have with your, intimate partners, but also really taking this time, this collective pause to nurture and tend to your friendships and maybe long lost relationships. So, I want to talk about a couple of different things today. So, the first is the power of forgiveness. So, you know, I don't care who you are, you're going to have someone or another in your life that you feel has wronged you, or you are harboring some kind of negative emotions about because of some incident between the two of you, whether it was a small misunderstanding or a big sort of multi-dimensional, multi-year blowout. There are people in my family who are still at odds with one another years and years and years later after an initial incident. And right now, the world is in a state of, pandemonium in a way, and it's also in a state of a very collective forced pause. And if we can take this opportunity to do some healing, I know that when we come out on the other side, the time that we will have spent will have been used wisely, or the time that we will have had at home and in this pause will have been used wisely and will have been used for good. So, my invitation to you is to consider the relationships, or maybe even it's just one relationship that has been trying for you, or a relationship where perhaps you're still holding on to some anger or some resentment, or you feel that you've somehow still you've been wronged and you haven't been able to let it go. I would invite you to make a list of, I don't know, say 5 people, and ask yourself if you could forgive those people in this time. Now, the beauty is that, in the modality that I've been trained, you don't even necessarily have to pick up the phone and talk to that person. You could simply reach out to them and in your mind and do a process of forgiving them. I have some training in an ancient Hawaiian shamanic practice called Huna, and part of that was to learn this practice of ho'oponopono, which is forgiveness. And in that process, you can quite simply have the necessary conversation that you need to have with this individual in your mind and do that forgiveness process. So maybe there's someone that you have been harboring a bunch of resentment for, that you could take this first step and do the forgiving in your mind. That is the first step, just in your mind, to reconcile that, because the truth is the only person that really suffers when you're holding on to unforgiveness is you. So the other thing I invite you to do is to make a list of people that you have just fallen out of touch with. Maybe they were dear friends of yours from, college, or, a previous job, or just someone, that you were connected to at one point, but you've lost touch with them for whatever reason. It doesn't have to necessarily be that you had a falling out, but you just lost touch with them. make a list of those people and maybe take it upon yourself in this time, as we've been asked to collectively pause, to reach out to them. If you still have their phone number, you could send them a text message just to say, I'm thinking about you. If you have their address and you know that it's up to date, maybe you could send them, a handwritten note just to say, hey, I'm here and I'd love to reconnect with you in some way, or I'm just thinking about you. So, right now, we have this opportunity to heal old relationships and to nurture current relationships and take the relationships that we are nurturing to the next level. And so, my next invitation for you is those people who you do consider friends, that you are in touch with on a more regular basis when we're not in quarantine and we're not in this stay safe at home time. Can you reach out to them and continue to cultivate those relationships? I will tell you that I have a group of women that I'm connected to through the Enneagram world, and we might only see each other once or twice a year at a conference. But in this time, we've decided to do some virtual happy hours. And we've actually gotten on Zoom calls and connected with one another and shared what we're respectively going through and laughed together and shared our concerns and our fears with one another and our struggles with one another. And it's been really incredible. And we asked ourselves, why haven't we been doing this sooner? Why didn't we do this when we weren't in quarantine? I mean, we all live all over the country. It's not like we couldn't have done this, you know, way before COVID-19 ever happened. And so what we're finding is that in this time, we're actually starting to take on some practices that we may want to keep in the future. It's like, well, what a cool thing. I was just on a Zoom call with my family, my cousins over the weekend, and I can tell you with great certainty that we have never done that before. Although we may talk to each other now and again on the phone, we have never taken the time to bring all of the girl cousins anyway, together and actually see one another and talk and just laugh and share. Even if it was just for an hour, it was so valuable and wonderful. So I have 3 invitations for you right now to bring this idea of radical resilience to your relationships, right? So one of the pillars of radical resilience is healing the heart. So can you, one, heal some old relationships that perhaps you've neglected or you're hanging on to some resentment around by doing some forgiveness in your mind? And if it feels right, maybe reaching out to that individual eventually when you feel okay to do that. 2, can you reignite some old relationships that perhaps you've neglected with people that you've just fallen out of touch with? And 3, can you breathe some more life into the relationships that you currently have with people that are your friends that you would maybe be seeing on a more regular basis, and really find ways to come together and deliberately spend time with each other. So I can't tell you how many happy hours I've had with my girls, and it's been really, really um, healing, and it's been really, really helpful because in this time, we're all going through it, and we really do need one another's support. So that's my invitation to you. I hope that you choose to take one part of it on, even if you don't take on all 3. Know that I continue to be here for you. I care for you so deeply. I am sending light and love and prayers to all of you in this Facebook community and just globally in general. I think we could all stand to do that for one another. So I'll be back again Friday with radical self-care practices for you guys. And if, again, you find this video and these videos on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday useful, feel free to share them in your communities. The podcast, Radical Resilience, the podcast, of course, as you know, dropped last Monday. We've got some bonus episodes in there for you. And, a new episode comes out every Monday. So take a listen. Feel free to subscribe, share, rate, review, all of the things. We actually have a pretty cool contest going on right now. So check that out. It's all over my social media stuff on Instagram. So take a look there. If you haven't joined the Radical Resilience Facebook group, do that because there's some really incredible human beings in there. and I do some exclusive content in there for those folks as well. So sending you so much light, love, and aloha from my heart to yours. Namaste.